The elderly veteran stood quietly outside the chain-link fence, his gnarled hands clutching the cold metal as he gazed into the Navy SEAL training compound beyond. Years of discipline and sacrifice lingered in his eyes, watching the young warriors practice maneuvers he once performed with precision. Security had politely but firmly told him he couldn't enter. This area was for authorized personnel only, so he accepted his place on the outside, a silent witness to the legacy he helped build. Inside, a group of SEAL instructors noticed the lone figure at the gate. At first, they prepared to uphold protocol, ready to ensure the man kept his distance from the sensitive activities behind the fence. But as they drew closer, something stopped them cold. Recognition flashed across their faces. The veteran's weathered face stirred memories that no official clearance could override. The man was no stranger, but a legend in their ranks. Without exchanging a word, the lead instructor stepped forward, unlocking the gate with deliberate care. As the heavy metal door swung open, the atmosphere shifted. Every SEAL in the compound paused mid-motion, turning toward the gate in perfect unison. Then, as one, they snapped to attention, their salute a powerful tribute that transcended rules and regulations. In that unforgettable moment, the veteran was no longer an outsider. He was honored as the living embodiment of courage and commitment, a hero welcomed back by those who carried the torch he once held high. Welcome to Echoes of Honor, where we discover that sometimes the most important people are the ones watching from outside the fence. Before we continue this incredible story about respect, recognition, and the legends who shaped today's warriors, tell us in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today. And if you believe these stories about honoring the pioneers who paved the way deserve to be shared, please hit that subscribe button to join our growing community. Your support helps us recognize the unsung heroes among us. The Naval Special Warfare Training Center at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado conducted its advanced combat skills training on a restricted section of the base where classified techniques and procedures were taught to elite operators preparing for deployment to the world's most dangerous environments. The training area was surrounded by security fencing and access controls that ensured only authorized personnel could observe the sophisticated methods being developed and refined for special operations missions. The morning's training session involved 24 SEAL operators practicing close-quarters combat techniques under the supervision of senior instructors whose expertise had been developed through multiple deployments and years of operational experience. The exercise combined tactical movement, weapons handling, and decision-making skills that would be essential for mission success in urban combat environments where split-second choices could determine the difference between life and death. The training area's security protocols reflected both the classified nature of the techniques being practiced and the operational security requirements that protected current tactics from potential observation by unauthorized individuals. Perimeter fencing, controlled access points, and regular security patrols ensured that training activities remained visible only to personnel with appropriate clearances and need-to-know authorization. Senior Chief Petty Officer Marcus Thompson was leading the morning's instruction, drawing on 15 years of special operations experience that included multiple combat deployments and specialized training in urban warfare techniques. His teaching methods emphasized both technical proficiency and tactical thinking, preparing operators for the complex decision-making required in environments where enemy contact could occur without warning. The training scenario being conducted involved room-clearing techniques that required precise coordination between team members, accurate weapons handling under stress, and instantaneous assessment of threats and non-combatants in confined spaces. The exercise represented the kind of sophisticated tactical training that distinguished special operations forces from conventional military units. Standing outside the perimeter fence, watching the training with the kind of professional attention that suggested deep understanding of what he was observing, was retired Master Chief Petty Officer Tom Sullivan. Though the security personnel who had earlier directed him to maintain appropriate distance had no knowledge of his identity or his significance to the special operations community. At 76, Tom moved slowly but with unmistakable traces of the tactical awareness that had characterized his 32 years of military service, including assignments that had helped establish many of the training procedures and operational techniques being practiced by the current generation of SEAL operators. Tom's presence outside the training area wasn't accidental or casual. He had driven from his retirement home in Arizona specifically to observe contemporary training methods and to maintain his connection to the special operations community that had defined his career and continued to hold his deepest professional interest despite his retirement 8 years earlier. What made Tom's observation from outside the fence both poignant and ironic was his role in developing many of the close-quarters combat techniques being practiced by the current training class. His innovations in urban warfare tactics had been incorporated into SEAL training curricula and had influenced operational procedures that were still being used in contemporary deployments. The security restrictions that prevented Tom from entering the training area reflected Post-9/11 protocols that had been implemented after his retirement, creating barriers that separated him from training activities that he had helped design and establish. His exclusion from the area represented administrative oversight rather than any lack of qualification for observing the techniques being practiced. Tom's knowledge of the training being conducted was comprehensive and personal, extending far beyond what any authorized observer could possess. He had personally trained many of the instructors who were now teaching the current generation of operators, had developed evaluation criteria that were still being used to assess performance, and had influenced the creation of scenarios that tested decision-making skills under pressure. Tom's observation of the training exercise revealed both his continuing professional interest in special operations development and his assessment of how contemporary methods compared to the techniques he had helped establish during his active duty career. His evaluation of operator performance, instructor methods, and training scenarios provided insights that no other observer could match. The irony of Tom's position outside the fence was that his exclusion from the training area prevented him from observing activities that he understood better than most of the authorized personnel inside the compound. His contributions to the development of close-quarters combat techniques had been fundamental to establishing the training program being conducted, but administrative changes had eliminated provisions for distinguished veterans to observe contemporary applications of their innovations. Security personnel conducting routine perimeter checks had noticed Tom's presence and had initially been concerned about potential intelligence gathering or unauthorized observation of classified training activities. Their assessment had been that an elderly civilian showing sustained interest in military training required monitoring to ensure appropriate boundaries were maintained. "Sir, this is a restricted training area," Security Officer Jennifer Martinez had explained when she first approached Tom earlier in the morning. "I'll need to ask you to maintain distance from the fence and avoid photographing or recording any activities you might observe." Tom's response had been characterized by the understanding and cooperation that marked his approach to authority throughout his career. "I understand completely, officer. I'm just interested in seeing how training has evolved since my time in the service. I'll maintain appropriate distance and respect all security requirements." Martinez's follow-up questions about Tom's military background had revealed his SEAL service, but had not uncovered the extent of his contributions to training development or his significance to the special operations community. Her focus on immediate security compliance had prevented deeper investigation into his credentials or authorization for closer observation. As the morning training session progressed, Tom continued his observation from the regulated distance. His professional attention focused on evaluating techniques, assessing performance, and noting changes in methods that had occurred since his retirement. His analysis revealed both improvements in training sophistication and consistency in fundamental principles that he had helped establish. Inside the training area, Senior Chief Thompson was conducting after-action reviews with operators who had completed individual scenarios, providing feedback that emphasized both technical performance and tactical decision-making. His instruction methods reflected training philosophies that had been developed and refined over decades of special operations experience. The breakthrough in Tom's isolation came when Chief Petty Officer David Rodriguez, one of the instructors participating in the training session, caught sight of the elderly observer outside the fence and recognized something familiar about his bearing and the way he was evaluating the training activities. Rodriguez's initial attention was attracted by Tom's obvious professional interest in the exercises and his evident understanding of what he was observing. Unlike casual observers who might watch military training with general curiosity, Tom's focus and assessment suggested someone with deep knowledge of special operations techniques and training methodologies. As Rodriguez looked more carefully at the observer outside the fence, recognition began to build as he processed details about Tom's appearance, bearing, and the way he was analyzing the training scenarios. Something about the elderly man's professional evaluation of the exercises triggered memories of photographs and stories that Rodriguez had encountered during his own training and professional development. The moment of recognition came when Rodriguez realized that he was looking at Master Chief Tom Sullivan, whose reputation in the special operations community was legendary and whose contributions to training development had influenced every aspect of contemporary SEAL preparation. The discovery that one of Naval Special Warfare's most distinguished veterans was observing training from outside the security fence created an immediate crisis of protocol and respect. Chief Rodriguez's recognition of Tom Sullivan triggered an immediate response that reflected both his understanding of Tom's significance to the special operations community and his determination to correct what he viewed as an intolerable situation. Without hesitation, Rodriguez interrupted the training exercise and approached Senior Chief Thompson with urgent information that would transform the morning's activities. Senior Chief, we have Master Chief Tom Sullivan observing training from outside the fence, Rodriguez reported, his voice carrying the kind of urgency that suggested immediate action was required. He's the one who developed half the techniques we're practicing today. The impact of Rodriguez's report was immediate and dramatic as Senior Chief Thompson processed the significance of having one of Naval Special Warfare's most distinguished veterans relegated to observing training from outside security barriers, while less qualified personnel occupied positions inside the compound. Thompson's response reflected both his respect for Tom's contributions to special operations training and his understanding that appropriate recognition was required regardless of administrative procedures or security protocols. We need to correct this situation immediately, he announced, his decision prioritizing honor for distinguished service over rigid adherence to access control procedures. Without regard for the disruption his action might cause to the training schedule, Thompson walked directly to the security gate that separated Tom from the training area and began the process of opening access that would allow one of the program's founding figures to observe contemporary applications of his innovations. The sight of a senior chief personally opening the security gate attracted immediate attention from all operators and instructors in the training area, who understood that something significant was happening but initially couldn't comprehend what had prompted such unprecedented action during a restricted training session. Master Chief Sullivan, sir, Thompson called out as he swung the gate open, his voice carrying the respect and recognition that had been missing from Tom's earlier interactions with security personnel. You belong inside this compound, not outside watching through a fence. Tom's response to the unexpected invitation reflected both his appreciation for the gesture and his understanding that his presence inside the training area might create complications for personnel who were simply following established security procedures. Senior Chief, I appreciate your courtesy, but I don't want to create any problems with security protocols, Tom replied, his concern for proper procedures reflecting the same attention to military discipline that had characterized his approach to service throughout his career. But Thompson was not willing to accept Tom's reluctance to enter the training area, understanding that his presence inside the compound would honor the training program and provide educational opportunities that would benefit every operator and instructor participating in the session. Sir, there are no problems here, Thompson announced, his authority as senior instructor providing the basis for overriding security concerns in favor of appropriate recognition for distinguished service. You helped create these training methods, and you deserve to see how they're being applied. The invitation for Tom to enter the restricted training area represented more than personal courtesy. It was official recognition of his contributions to special operations training and acknowledgement that his presence would enhance rather than compromise the educational value of the session. As Tom entered the compound, the response from operators and instructors throughout the training area was immediate and unanimous. Without command or coordination, every SEAL in the compound stopped their activities and came to attention, creating a moment of spontaneous recognition that honored Tom's service and his contributions to their professional development. The mass salute that followed represented more than military courtesy. It was authentic recognition of someone whose innovations had directly contributed to the capabilities being developed by contemporary operators and whose influence had shaped the training methods being practiced throughout the session. The sight of 24 elite operators and their instructors rendering simultaneous salutes to Tom Sullivan created one of the most emotionally powerful moments in naval special warfare training history, demonstrating the kind of respect and gratitude that connected contemporary special operations to their historical foundations. Tom's response to the unexpected honor reflected both his appreciation for the recognition and his understanding that the salute represented acknowledgement not just of his individual contributions, but of the collective effort that had established contemporary special operations capabilities. "Gentlemen, the honor is mine," Tom replied, his words carrying the humility that had characterized his approach to service throughout his career, while acknowledging the respect being shown by personnel whose own service continued the traditions he had helped establish. Senior Chief Thompson used Tom's presence as an opportunity to educate the current generation of operators about the historical foundations of the techniques they were practicing and the importance of understanding the evolution of special operations training methods. Master Chief Sullivan spent over 30 years developing and refining the close-quarters combat techniques you've been practicing today, Thompson announced to the assembled operators. The room-clearing procedures, the tactical movement methods, and the decision-making frameworks you use all bear his influence. The educational value of Tom's presence extended beyond historical context to include practical insights about technique development, performance evaluation, and tactical applications that could only be provided by someone with his depth of experience and institutional knowledge. During the remainder of the training session, Tom participated as an observer and occasional instructor, sharing insights about technique refinement and tactical considerations that enhanced the learning experience for all participants. His contributions demonstrated the continuing value of institutional knowledge and the importance of maintaining connections between veteran expertise and contemporary training. The close-quarters combat scenarios that had been the focus of the morning's training took on additional meaning with Tom's presence, as operators understood that they were practicing techniques that had been developed by someone whose own combat experience had validated their effectiveness under actual operational conditions. The after-action reviews conducted following individual scenarios were enhanced by Tom's insights about performance evaluation and technique improvement, providing operators with feedback that connected their current training to broader contexts of operational effectiveness and mission success. The security fence that had initially separated Tom from the training area became a symbol of the barriers that can prevent meaningful connections between veteran expertise and contemporary training, and the importance of ensuring that distinguished service receives appropriate recognition and access. Tom's exclusion from the training area had been corrected not through administrative revision, but through the authentic recognition of personnel who understood his significance and were willing to take action to ensure appropriate honor was provided to someone whose contributions deserved acknowledgement. The training session that had begun with Tom observing from outside the fence became one of the most meaningful educational experiences in the program's recent history, demonstrating the value of connecting contemporary training to historical foundations and veteran expertise. In the weeks following the training session, Tom was invited to participate in curriculum development discussions and training evaluation processes that would benefit from his institutional knowledge and operational experience. His recognition had connected him to contemporary training programs in ways that honored both his past contributions and his continuing value to special operations development. The gate that had been opened to allow Tom's entry became a symbol of the respect that current military personnel owe to the veterans whose service established the foundations of contemporary capabilities, and the importance of ensuring that such veterans receive appropriate recognition and access to the programs they helped create. Senior Chief Thompson's decision to interrupt training to honor Tom's presence demonstrated the kind of leadership that prioritizes authentic respect for distinguished service over rigid adherence to administrative procedures, and the importance of teaching current personnel about their obligations to veteran contributions. The operators who had participated in the training session gained understanding not only of tactical techniques, but also of the importance of honoring the people whose innovations and experience had made their own training possible. Their salute to Tom had demonstrated respect for military history and recognition of continuing obligations to veteran service. The compound that had been restricted to authorized personnel was revealed to have been incomplete without the presence of someone whose contributions had established the very training being conducted within its boundaries. Tom's inclusion had validated contemporary training while honoring the historical foundations that made such training effective. Sometimes the most important people at military training exercises are the ones watching from outside the fence, and the most meaningful moments occur when current personnel recognize their obligations to ensure that distinguished veterans receive the honor and access their service deserves. The chain-link fence that had separated Tom from the training area had been less significant than the barriers created by administrative oversight, and the gate that had been opened had represented recognition of continuing obligations to honor the people whose service established the foundations of contemporary military capabilities. This story was brought to you by Echoes of Honor. Before we leave you today, here's our question. Have you ever known someone who never asked for recognition but deserved more than anyone else? Someone whose innovations and expertise were being used by others while they remained outside looking in? Tell us in the comments about the pioneers in your life who created the foundations for current success, and how their example has influenced your understanding of respect and recognition. And if you think stories like these about honoring those who paved the way deserve to be shared, hit that subscribe button to support the channel. We'll see you in the next one.